All right, everyone. We miss you. I hope you're feeling better and you'll be able to come back soon. I'm just recording this video for you because we started our new Latin chapter today. So I wanted to make sure that you got your notes and understood kind of what was going on so you could follow along while you're at home. Because this is one of our, I don't want to say tougher chapters, but one of our kind of bigger chapters that we're doing this year. So we're doing participles in this chapter. And participles generally are verbal adjectives. We use these in English just as well as we use them in Latin. So they're adjectives, but they have verb stems and kind of verb meanings. So we use these in English, like if you're saying mashed potatoes, then those are potatoes that have been mashed, right? So to mash is a verb. Mashed potatoes are the verbal adjective, potatoes that have been mashed. Same thing if we said, the running man. Well, that's a man who's running, right? To run is an action, it's a verb. And so the running man, that's a verbal adjective. So the same thing applies here with our Latin participles. So they're going to have kind of verb roots or verb stems, and then they're going to have adjective endings. And so they're going to use a lot of the same endings that our adjectives do. So we have 4 participles total in Latin. We have the present active, we have the perfect passive, we have the future active, and the future passive participle. So notice I've blocked off a couple lines here in the chart because we don't have a present passive and we don't have a perfect active. So we only have 4 participle types total. Now 2 of these are pretty common. The present active participle is very common, and the perfect passive participle is pretty common in Latin. So we're going to see those a lot. Okay, so let's come down here. And we're going to talk a little bit about the formation of the participles, and then we're going to talk about kind of what they look like. And I don't expect you to know all of this right away. This is just kind of an introduction, and we're going to work more on forming as we go along. So our present active participle, we form with the present stem and our vowel and our NS or NT. You can think NT, present, NT, right? So we can kind of use that to help us remember it. And we also have the perfect passive. This is the one that we used when we formed our perfect passive verbs. We used our 4th principal part in a form of sum. Now, we're not going to use the form of sum for just the participle. It's just the 4th principal part. So that's our 4th principal part, and us, And then for our future active, we have the 4th principal part plus a UR plus us, So you can think UR, future, UR, yeah. And then for our future passive, we have the present stem, our vowel ND, and us, So notice that our first one and our last one, our present active and our future passive, both use the present stem, where our 2 middle ones, our perfect passive and our future active, both use our 4th principal part. So we're using 2 different stems to form these. Now let's look at what these look like. So if we're doing our present active, our present stem, vowel, and NS, then NTIS, we'd have laudans, laudantes. So that's loud, our present stem, A, our vowel, and S. Loud, present stem, A, our vowel, NT, remember present, and our IS ending there for the genitive. So these ones use 3rd declension endings. They're the only participles that use 3rd declension endings. And so these ones are going to act kind of like our 3rd declension 1 ending adjectives. Think like ingens, ingentis, or potens, potentis, right? Those are very similar to our participles. They're going to decline in the same way. And then for our perfect passive, we have our 4th principal part, so laudatus, Then for our future active, we have the same thing, but we added the UR for future in the middle, so laudatorus, And then for our future passive, again, we're back to our present stem, loud. Got our vowel, a, and d, and us, So laudandus, Now, if all of this is a bit much and you're not really sure about it, well, luckily for you, I have a trick to help you. I like to deal with the ice cream flavors of participles. We have ice cream flavors for each of our participles to help us remember. We start with our present active. Now, our present active participle, it's a bit of a normal participle, right? You're going to find this in pretty much every ice cream parlor that you go to. It's rare to not see one of these when we go to an ice cream parlor, just like it's rare to not see one of these when we read a Latin passage. So this is our vanillons participle. Or vanillons participle. Notice I've highlighted the NS here, or the NT for present, which is our clue that this is a present active participle. Our perfect passive participle is also a pretty bland participle, very normal one. We're going to see this in pretty much every ice cream parlor we go to, just like we'd see this in pretty much every Latin passage we read, and that's a chocolatus. Participle, or chocolatus. This one isn't highlighted because it doesn't really have just one clue. What we should look for here is that it's our fourth principal part and has no extra clues in there. Then we get to our future participles. Our future participles, they're a little bit more adventurous. They might not be in every ice cream parlor, just like they might not be in every Latin passage. And so they're a little bit different. First, we have our future active, the sherbatorus participle. Again, getting that you are in there for our future you are, right? So I've highlighted that for us. And then for our future passive, again, a rarer one. So we have the butter pecandus participle. Again, I've highlighted that ND in there for our butter pecandus. So that's just a trick to help you remember how to form these participles and what their clues are. And we'll be working on that more. But now we're going to look at some translation of these participles. So our translation also depends on our flavor of our ice cream or our participles. So our present active participles are translated with an ing. So if we were doing laudo, like laudons, that would be praising. Now, it's really important for us to note that these participles are participles, they're adjectives, they're not main verbs. And so like with laudons, we might have the man praising. That sounds a little weird, right? We might want to make it the man is praising or the man was praising. But if we do that, then we've taken away the participle and we've made it a main verb instead. And we don't want to do that. So what we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to revel in the awkwardness. We're just going to have to let it be weird and just sit in the weirdness and let it be weird. Because if we try to make it a main verb, we're going to lose the participle and we're going to translate that incorrectly. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see when we're starting participles is trying to translate them like main verbs instead of just letting them be weird and translating them like participles. For example, here we could have the man praising went into the city. So praising is not your main verb, went is your main verb. Praising is the adjective telling us more about the man. In the same way that we could say the brave man, we can say the praising man. Which one? The one who's praising. Which one? The one who's brave, right? It tells us the same thing. So we have to think about them like adjectives, not like main verbs. So we're going on here to our perfect passive participle. Our perfect passive participle is translated having been verbed. So, for example, here with laudo, we could have laudatus when we could say the man having been praised. Again, sit in the weirdness. We don't want to try to make it a main verb. So the man having been praised went to the city. Our future active participles, we're going to get progressively weirder as we go through. So this one, we could start with about to verb. So for example, about to praise. if we had laudatorus, the man about to praise went to the city. And our future passive participles are going to be about to be verbed. So here, about to be praised. So the man about to be praised went to the city. So we see that these are adjectives. So we put them here into a handy chart for us to help us remember how we translate each type of participle. And we're going to be working on this a little bit more tomorrow, working on our charts and on practicing these kind of things, as we get used to participles. So what we're doing tonight for homework is we're studying our chapter 23 vocab, which I also sent to you, and we're doing our sheep protector charts, which are also posted on Jupyter. I attached them to the message as well. And so what I want you to do is, if you turn the page here, then we have these example charts for our participles. And so you can use these charts. What I want you to do is write out all of your participle forms, all of the forms for each of the 4 types. Write them out on your sheep protector charts, because I really want you to get used to writing and seeing participle forms, because they're pretty different than what we've done before, because they're kind of a smash together of verbs and adjectives. So I want you to write those so you can kind of get used to what they look like. And it's totally fine right now if you are looking at your chart and writing it as you're looking at your chart. That's fine. My goal tonight is not memorizing these. My goal tonight is for us to just kind of get used to looking at them and get used to, writing these participles, because that's what we're going to be using this chapter. And then our flashcards are also going to be due on Thursday, or you can turn them in whenever you come back. All right, so that's it for our little participle presentation. So let me know if you have any questions on that. If you're, not really understanding what I'm asking you to do, please feel free to send me a Jupyter message and I'll try to help you out. If you have a lot of trouble, then I can even set up a Google Meet to help you practice, together a little bit more live. So hope you feel better, and I hope you'll be able to join us again soon. Bye.